Welcome to Albany County Direct. I'm your host, County Executive Daniel McCoy. And on today's episode, we're joined by Michael Lalli, Director of Operations for Albany County. And Mike, thanks for being here. Not that you had a choice because you work in the county, so we made you come on. Before we get started, though, can you tell you a little about your background and what you do in your current role?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been working for the county now for 11 years. I started in 2015. I worked in the executive's office as a policy analyst, went to civil service, and then found my way back to the executive's office, your office, as director of operations. I have a master's degree in public administration. I have a certificate in human resources, and all that comes together to make sure that I am overseeing the operations of the county, which to me means it's the nexus of policy and public administration and getting the people to do the things.
I like that, Mike. And, you took over at a time, at my level in my office, some people tend to go, it's a busy office, it's 7 days a week, it's around the clock. The former director, George Penn, did a good job, and then he decided to retire. And then, you came in and seamlessly took over. And the one thing I like to say we do joke around a lot about is the military backgrounds. I'm in the best branch of the military, the Army. Mike happened to join the Marine Corps, did his time in overseas in Iraq like I did, and but we get it when it comes to mission, to orientation, to get stuff done, and that's what I get out of you. And I sometimes throw a little bit too much at you, but just like in the Marine Corps motto, like you don't say no, you can't do it. You figure it out and you get it done, and that gets us the reason why we're here. One of the most redevelopment hardest projects I've taken on is the College of St. Rose. This is a huge project. We're at a point in the county. We had a ton of other projects going on, Mike. We're in different directions. We're on solid financial ground. Don't know where we're going to be with President Trump and everything he's doing. And then this gets thrown on our lap, and I'm like, 42 acres, 72 buildings, middle of the city of Albany. We have to do something. And we got together, and I want to thank you for your leadership here, for being involved. And I think the military and Mike and I, and I'll let you speak, is that we love exploring. We've gone through every building, everything. He's like, boss, did you know there's tunnels? There's tunnels. And I'm like, go figure it out. So we found the tunnels, the interconnection of buildings, a lot of stuff. But one of the, what would you say, since you've taken this on, where we were less than 8 months ago, because people got to realize we only won this bid last year. We are moving quick in certain areas. We're trying to be respectful to everyone in the process. What did you think from that first day that you walked on this property with me to where we're at today?
Yeah, no, it was an interesting time. I mean, when I came upstairs, I had the benefit of transitioning with George Penn for a while. So I had that overlap where he was in the office. I had a couple months to just get up to speed with him. I was learning about Upper Camp at Lawson Lake. I was learning about some projects on the rail trail. And then I came upstairs and we had a new project called St. Rose. So it was pretty surprising. I mean, I was in your office at the time when you got the call. And I remember seeing your face and I was like, who was that? And you were just at a loss of words because we just won. We won the bankruptcy hearing.
And it was funny. Kevin and his team, they were all like, this is great. And I'm like, I really didn't want to win because, one, not that I knew everything that was going to happen here was going to happen, but I knew the magnitude of the responsibility to take a college that's been here for 100 years, transform it into something else, reimagine it, and do it in a respectful way to the best of my ability. And at times I have failed, and I don't have a problem saying that. And I apologize to everyone I offended in this neighborhood or anyone else. But if I didn't do what I did, you'd have Dome Stewart, you'd have the e-commerce buildings, you'd have the Tudor houses on Holland. I could go through every central warehouse. Let's talk about every abandoned building. That's what you'd have here in the heart of the city. And, we had to figure it out. And one of the reasons we had to move so quickly, and I knew this, in government, we're not good at mothballing stuff. Look what happened to our old Anley house up at the at the airport. Look at the other buildings we own. The house that we actually sold the property and put our new DPW on there, but we sold the property to the Hill House. Same thing. We don't do a good job. And I did not want this to happen here. And I wanted to move quick so we would stop for the decay of buildings and infrastructure on campus. And what happened, Mike?
Yeah, so I think it gets back to that military mindset that you mentioned before. And in the Marine Corps, time and time again, it was drilled into us that indecision kills. And then when you get pinned down in a location, inaction is what's going to result in deaths. So obviously not that extreme, but here at St. Rose, if you don't make decisions, things are going to start falling apart. So as soon as we acquired the campus, as soon as Pine Hills Land Authority was stood up, the first direction, the intent that you gave was get it live. I called up another veteran. I called up Scott Leslie. I said, hey, man, I got a task for you. You need to move into St. Rose no later than 2 weeks from now. And you know what he did? He moved into St. Rose within 2 weeks. At that time, I'm thinking like, okay, how's this going to get up and running? But the whole team came together. Dave Latina gets people up here so we can actually do the move. Pat Alderson has people who's actually getting the IT hooked up and finding ways to make a dying campus come back to life IT-wise. And, that was kind of the first action we took. All the other actions that have been going on are to ensure that the campus doesn't fall apart. Because just like you, I walk through all the buildings. I love going into the tunnels, into the attics, seeing what they left behind. And what we're finding, even the buildings that were occupied, are that the roofs haven't been repaired in a decade, that there's infrastructure and HVAC that's kind of leaking from condensation lines. So you have these things, and without having the buildings occupied, there's no way to actually know that there's a problem until the problem becomes a huge problem. And that's why we need to take action immediately.
No, you're right. When the college went bankrupt, a lot of these buildings were left without care, suffered serious damage. It looked nice on the outside, and I'll give it. You walk around the campus, you look at the buildings, it looks beautiful. It's when we got into nuts and bolts, or we actually got in buildings, we're like, wow, you can see where they stopped investing money. The poor conditions, when it closed, and some of the problems we ran into and the damages we saw by walking through these buildings, like you were saying, Mike. What are the steps you or our Department of General Services has taken to rectify these issues that we're running into? And I want to say this: we've go through our lines. They had someone hired to oversee all these properties, and one of the things, and it wasn't a game. We went back and forth, and I walked through these properties like Mike did, and I'd be here on weekends and nights, and I'd shut refrigerators off. I'd shut microwaves off because that's the county taxpayer dollar. Because at the end of the day, yes, we don't own it, but at the end of the day, we're paying every bill here. So, yes, I got a fanatic about waste of energy. I got a fanatic about the power being on, having heat on in the summertime for a building at 85 degrees with the heat on, and it's, 95 degrees outside, and which we didn't do. And we went back and forth, and this gentleman would shut all the furnaces off and water to all these buildings, never turn it back on for the winter, which cost us a lot of damage. Right now, we're over $1 million in damages right now?
Yeah, between Centennial Hall and a couple other buildings that have floods. Centennial, that was a freak accident, but some of the other ones, the pipes froze and they burst, and there was no way to know until security eventually went through. Shout out to security. There's some good folks over there who are walking the grounds, who have been with St. Rose before it closed. Some of the things that I've done, everything from boarding up windows when we have folks try to break in and steal the copper, to delegating and bringing contractors on board through procurement and making sure that roofs are replaced. It's absolutely everything, which is why I love this job. Because I can be the one that's actually going down there and making repairs, or I can be the one that's reaching out to the appropriate departments and telling them to go ahead and make the repairs, to delegate and make sure that as long as they understand my intent, we're getting things done.
My problem's this. As we walk through these buildings, and Channel 6 News and 13 did a really excellent job, showcasing what we're dealing with. They're full of furniture, artwork, just computers. The clothing store is still here. I could go on and on and on and on. And we're dealing with that. A library full of books, which they said, or archive room full of books dating back to the 13th, 1200th century, and probably beyond that. And history stuff from the college that's boxed up in that room that we got to figure out. Now, I know they took what they wanted to give to the museum on Western Ave, but obviously they just thought these treasures weren't worth it. I don't know. I'm just assuming. But we're trying to categorize all that too. I had a book collector come through to give us an idea what some of the books are worth. We're bringing other people in, and people don't realize as we're trying to turn these buildings around, working with the land authority, working with every agency. And here's my thing: please, if you want a building, you have a potential building, come reach out to Kevin O'Connell, reach out to CPL, reach out to my office, reach out to the land authority. We want to welcome you and bring you on tours. And everyone's like, what's the secrecy when I meet with people? I've met with a lot of people. I walk through here at nights and weekends, a lot of hours, that had no interest, quite honestly, of being in the city of Albany. And hopefully that's all, that image and everything is starting to change under our new mayor, right? So I'm hoping that's going to change all that, and the Common Council comes to grips on what their zoning is going to be. I've heard it all. I don't say it publicly. I don't point fingers. I'm just like, I got to figure this out. And as we figure this out, we just turn into one mess after another. And we're getting there. And we have some other great announcements we're going to be talking about. But, I would love to say anyone listening to this, you should see the stuff that we inherited in the care we're trying to get. And we have alum of the College of St. Rose reaching out to us who want to come on board and do like a museum here. We're talking about taking one of the houses and turning it into a museum or a bed and breakfast, so when people come visit, they can walk around the college. And we're trying to be mindful of all the names that people donated a lot of money to put their names on buildings, saying, hey, look, we wanted to keep it the Masry Performing Arts Center, right? The Masry family did a great job, raising money and helping build that. Well, I don't want to come in and tear it down. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Though it's not benefiting me, but I got a beautiful building that it meant something to that family. And I'm just using Masry. Use tons other as we walk around here and you see all the names on there. The artifacts, the antique furniture, the I could just go on. And yeah, so it is frustrating when you have everyone coming at you and being Monday morning quarterbacks trying to tell you, oh, take your time, do a study. What was that one house on Madison we found, Mike, old Victorian, that we were like, oh, yeah, here's all the studies from the board of the college. Yep. Remember that? And we started, you and I were like two little kids for hours reading through everything. And they did a study on how a door opened up properly. They paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for this. And I'm not taking anything away from studies. But sometimes in your gut what you need to do, mm-hmm. or you have the right connections to call and say, hey, XYZ developer, what do you think of this? I walk through here with developers. I've been doing this long enough. I'm not an expert. I go to the right people, and I'm saying, hey, I got this crazy idea. What do you think, right? It was a math equation. It's a variable to how you get to the math equation. So OCA needed more space. They wanted the sheriff's department out. By moving the sheriff's department here, I'm making Y now on extra rent from OCA for the space they're taking over, which helps me offset the price here. Now, if they were stabilized and they were moving and they were paying their own bills, it wouldn't be a rush for me, would it, Michael?
No.
And that's, so that's the problem. I'm paying all the bills. Yes, I don't own it. I own the buildings now. The county owns the 6 buildings. Yes, we do. And we needed that for site control. And we went for the bricks grant. And here's a prime example. And I get it. There was a lot of pressure from the neighbors, a lot of pressure from the board members. People are saying, hey, let's wait. We did the 90-day window to buy the buildings. They said, let's just wait. Let CPL do the report. And I'm like, sure. Let's wait. Because again, I'm about transparency. And what has happened, Mike, when waiting to instead of taking that vote, which I want to take so desperately in October. And listen, people, it's not a dictatorship in my office. It's democracy. We talked, and I'm like, okay, I'll do it this way, and give the board and everyone time to think about this. Plenty of time for people to speak up. What did it cost me?
Yeah, the Bricks grant. I mean,
and how much was in the Bricks grant, buddy?
I think I put in about 13.9. So yeah, 14
So I wasn't going to blame you, Mike.
Yeah,
I wasn't going to blame you. So we were pretty confident we were going to get to 14 million brick grant. It was like 13.9 to be exact, Mike. And lesson learned. And we got the application back. Sorry, Albany County would have qualified, but didn't have ownership.
Yeah, and
we lost it. But that was tough. That's a $14 million loss that was going to go in to fix the 3 furnaces that are wrecked. That even the maintenance guy that you brought in, the heating company said, yeah, literally they had duct tape on these things. They did a disservice, and I get it. They had no money, so I'm not trashing them. So I want to make that clear. They made hard decisions. That board, the school made hard decisions, just like now I'm making hard decisions to make this work. You can't just sit on it. And I have not just this project, Mike. So before we end, and I said to listeners, this isn't just a session for him and I. We just want you to understand what we've been going through here and try to visualize it as well as listening to us. And, I said to CPL, we need to set up tours for the neighbors. Show them the buildings. Let them walk through it. Let them know what we're dealing with. But I want to say this. We have the Cohoes Community Center we've been running at the same time. I'll let you go to run through it, Mike, just in case I forget. You mentioned Lawson's Lake. We have the McDonald's site we're redeveloping. The parking lot next to the MVP we're redoing. Central Warehouse. LTEC. All the other IDA and CRC projects. All the movement we're making with the BOE, Board of Elections, which we'll be announcing. So and dealing with the budget and dealing with a crazy president that is going to shatter our world with this other next lawsuit or upset people, and trying to figure it out. And yet, what's the rush? What do you say, Michael? Am I missing anything?
Well, I mean, you take a look at the rush got us to the point, or the lack of the rush got us to the point where now we own the Events and Athletics Center, along with 4 other buildings in the county. And I think what the people, especially the neighborhood, is going to see are these buildings becoming activated in a very quick amount of time. So you had a chair yoga event for seniors at the former library. That was on Monday. 40 people showed up to it. You're going to hear an announcement about the pool in the coming days. You're going to be able to see that there's RFPs going out for the former Starbucks in the EAC, the Events and Athletic Center, as well as a small cafeteria on the first floor. You're going to see us going to take a walk through the cafeteria upstairs with Henry Johnson to see how we can get that going again, leveraging federal funding so that we can have the cafeteria open for the school kids that are going to be coming here. And all these things are going to be able to be taken advantage of by Pine Hills neighborhood, by city residents, by the county entirely, where you're going to be able to come in and see all of these things. And it's going to bring a lot of life back to the campus. That's why the rush should happen, because we want to get these things going and bring the campus back to life. And also so we can avoid all those deferred maintenance issues that you mentioned before.
Right. We're paying the insurance bill of over $2 million, I believe, if I stand corrected. I could be wrong. We're paying the heat, the electric, maintenance, upkeep, everything here right now. So the quicker I turn a building over, the less insurance, the less maintenance, as you just said elegantly. And it makes common sense. So, yes, St. Rose sold 19 buildings before it went to bankruptcy in this neighborhood, and no one said boo. No one wrote a story. No one asked who acquired the properties. I know we're government. We're different, but you're trying to hold me to a standard you didn't hold the college to when they were selling off stuff, right? And I'm okay with that. I'll be honest with you. You know, I think you and I, the military mindset that we are and just the personalities we are, it's okay. I signed up for this. I'll take my lumps. But, you know, the days of people being objective in writing stories, and I don't want to agree with this nut on the national level, it's true. Because they got their narrative. They don't want to change their narrative. They can't make me, say anything good we're doing here. all the programs we up and running, everything we've done, opening up the pool, pickleball, everything that we're doing, 80% of the people that are coming through that door are from the neighborhood. And it's going to be more once we open up the senior center and announce all that and the initiatives we're doing there. We're going to make this a destination, not just for the Pine Hill neighborhood, but for everyone in the county, because I represent the county. So, and I said this, and I stand by this. If the city of Albany and Capitalized Albany want to buy this, because I got over $50 million, give me $50 million in cash, I'll gladly sell them everything, and I'll walk away, and they can have every building, and they can study it, and they can look at it, and they can figure it out. I'll walk away. I'm okay. But no one stood up. And it doesn't mean I get a pass. It doesn't mean I get a free pass. So I want to make that clear. I represent the county. So, no, I'm not going to get the nipper and every other thing. I got to, there's Indian Ladders. There's Handy Rail up in Westerlo, right? I could just go through every list. In Town of Gillen, you got the Scene, you got great, you got Cafe Italia that went there now. You have great restaurants. You got 2 great golf courses there. Colony, the same thing. Bethlehem, right? Queens Ravine, Cohoes, Waterville, all have neat history of Albany County. So, yes, people, it's not my job. It's the new mayor, and she's going to do a great job, as I can tell, highlighting the city. My job's to highlight everyone in the county and point out to the beautifications and everything from Thatcher Park, New Scotland. I could just go on and on and on. That's my job, and that's what that was just a snapshot we'll show once that showcase next month, and explain a lot. Because, yes, we did use some local people. But again, I'm not here to answer their questions and be like, look, a negative. See what we're dealing. And not just that, all the projects that we got going on. To the men and women of Albany County that making me look so great, thank you. To the team here at the College St. Rose, my office, everyone, Sheriff Apple's partnership, the legislature, Joanne Cunningham, Wanda Williams, Dennis Feeney, all the legislators, Gary DeMoss, that all got behind us. Thank you. Because it wouldn't be possible without all of you. So, again, thank you to everyone. Thank you for listening. Mike, do you got anything you want to say?
No, I think the one thing that I would say to anyone listening is there's no wrong door for accessing the campus in terms of getting on the campus. If you have a small business that's interested in coming here, we can point you to CPL and the Alliance. They can get you in front of the board if you want to buy a building, if it pans out properly. But I would say keep an eye out in the coming weeks, in the coming months. There's going to be a lot going on. We're going to be looking for some businesses to come into the buildings that we have purchased, a coffee shop, a restaurant. If you're in the community and you want to move to St. Rose, just call our office, and we would love to see something happen.
Mike, thank you. And to the listeners, always thank you. And to everyone getting involved. And we forgot about Deborah Tano, who retired from aging, is doing Hailing Moments. We know people, to you, we didn't buy the church, but we are maintaining it, fixing it. There's a beautiful garden in there. And you know what we did? We hired a gardener to come in and fix it, because I walked through that chapel and I remember how beautiful that was. And it was in disarray. Mm-hmm. And I know one lady on the transition for St. Rose when it was closing was trying to keep it up, and she did. And she was trying her best, and we brought someone in, and we figured it out, and we got it done. So stay tuned for more of that. And as always, be sure to check out our other episodes on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and subscribe so you never miss an update. Thank you for listening to Albany County Directly.